Hello, welcome to the 34th edition of Drive Thru Review. Today I'm going to talk about Thurn and Taxis. It's a game by Andreas Seafarth, and I think I've got the name right. He's more famous for designing a game called Puerto Rico. I'm probably going to get shot or something, whatever, but because they call this a Ticket to Ride killer. Not a big fan of Ticket to Ride. I don't want to talk about that here, but to me, this is a much better game with sort of a similar mechanics, and I just like it more than Ticket to Ride. I don't really like that game at all. I do like Airlines Europe, which I did a video review of. So um, I know I'm in the minority. I don't like Ticket to Ride. I don't like Puerto Rico either. So I'm losing my credentials here by the second. But not everybody likes every game. So just they're not fun. So, but this one I love this game. There's my review. Goodbye. No, I'll show you how to play it here in a minute. But this game I really like. It's got a lot of variety and spice to it, and you're building routes, sort of like Ticket to Ride, and it's a lot of card play with a central deck of cards, and different colors, so to speak. But there's a lot of variety of ways to play this game, I think, and it plays quite a bit differently with 2 to 4. But I think you got to play it to kind of get the feel for that. Anyway, so let me just jump into how the game works and go from there.
Alright, so to start the game, you got to set up the board like so. You're going to set up a little draw area of cards. There's going to be 6 face-up cards with a face-down draw deck. Players don't start with any cards in their hand. You're going to see bonus tiles throughout the board here, and these are set up in a specific way. You've got different piles, like here's a little pile here, here's a green one over there, and I'll explain those in a minute. You're going to have a couple of stacks of carriage cards up here, and there's going to be 4 in each. So you can see these are the 4 threes there, and there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and those will be set up at the top of the board. Players are going to get this little home base card, which actually doesn't really serve any purpose. You can kind of see their color bordered around there, so everybody should get one in their color, which will match these little colored houses here. Now each player starts with 20 of these different houses, which represent stations for their carriages. Lastly, players will get a handy dandy player aid, which gives you just a quick little turn summary and then the 4 special abilities that are in the game. There's basically 4 special abilities. Your turns are pretty simple, and then your only real choice is going to be, I shouldn't say your only real choice, but one of the key choices is going to be choosing which of these abilities to activate per turn, because you can only activate one of these on your turn if you choose. You don't have to activate any of them if you don't want. So a player's turn is actually going to be basically pretty simple. You have to take a card from the draw deck over here, either the face-up draw deck or the face-down. You can take one off the top. So you have to take at least one card from there, and then you have to play in front of you at least one card. And that's it. So there are special abilities, like I said, and they're denoted on your summary card, which gives you a breakdown, like I said before, of the different abilities as well as the turn structure. They're also broken down up here on the top of the board for your convenience. Basically, I'm just going to go through them really quickly, and then I'll explain them more in detail as I get into the flow. The first guy here, he's the Postal Carrier, and if you take his action, you get to play 2 cards and face up in front of you instead of 1. This guy is the Postmaster. He will let you take 2 cards instead of 1, either from the face down draw pile or the face up cards. This guy is the Administrator. He'll let you wipe all 6 of the face up cards. So if you don't see anything you like, you don't feel like drawing off the top of the deck, you can just clear these off and then draw 6 more cards up before you draw your card. This last guy over here is the Cartwright, and he lets you skip some scoring on this carriage, and that's not going to make a lot of sense right now, but I'll explain that when I get to that. So the thing to keep in mind as I explain this is that you can only take one of these actions per turn. So if I took the action where I drew 2 cards, I couldn't on the same turn take the action where I put 2 cards face up in front of me. So as you do the steps of your turn, you're going to make your choice if you want to activate one of those actions. So let's just walk through a little sample turn here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a card. Okay, so I can take one of these face-up cards or a face-down card. So I may take this card and then I'll immediately replace it. And then I may say, you know what, I really like that card too, so I'm going to take that one as well. And then that's it. Now I've used the special action of the postmaster here, so I can't do any of these other guys' activities. That's too late. Now if I had come here and I had seen, you know what, I don't like anything, I want to do the administrator role, well, I could wipe these out and I'll fill this up with 6 cards, like so, discarding all of these. And I've basically taken the administrator role. So now I can't take 2 cards or put 2 cards in front of me. So once you take a roll during whatever step of the turn you're on, then you're done taking rolls. And I should note that at the start of the game, since you have no cards in your hand, you are forced to take the action of drawing 2 cards. There's a stipulation in the rules that if you ever have no cards in your hand, then the only special action you have to take is to draw 2 cards instead of just drawing 1. So like I said, to start the game, everybody's going to take that action of taking 2 cards. So immediately after taking the cards, then you have to figure out what you want to play in front of you. So let's pretend I have this hand in front of me. So I've got this dark green Sigmaringen, Innsbruck is a darker blue, Ulm is a light green, and then this Augsburg is a gray. Now all of these match cities on the board. So what I'm trying to do is build a route and score points. Now there's some rules to how you can build a route, and let me show you that. So if you can see how I've got Sigmarten as this city here, and you can tell by these little roads here what cities it's connected to. Now Sigmarten's connected to Ulm, which is connected to Augsburg. Sigmarten's also connected to Zurich, and Sigmarten's also connected to Kempten. So there's not just one way out of these places. Now Ulm's connected to Augsburg, which is connected down to Innsbruck, which I showed you earlier. So what you're going to try to be doing is planning out a sequential route of all the cities. And let me explain why. Let's say on my turn I wanted to play, not that card, Augsburg. So I'd put that down, and that would be the end of my turn. I drew a card and I played a card. I could, if I hadn't taken the administrator action to wipe out the cards or drew in 2 cards, I could place 2 cards. So I could play Augsburg and Ulm. Now when you place the second card, or the third or fourth or fifth card, after your first card, you've got to place it to the left or right of your existing cards. And the card must be adjacent via a road. Now I could not have played the Sigmarten card here because obviously Augsburg and Sigmarten are not directly connected by a road. But on a later turn, if I had played Ulm here like so, I've got Augsburg, Ulm, and then on my next turn I could play Sigmarten. So now I've got a route kind of going this direction, and then I got a route going off this direction. So I could, on the next turn, if I wanted to, play this Innsbruck card, because Innsbruck is located to the right of Augsburg. I couldn't have played it over here, because they don't directly connect. I would have had to play Kempten, which is in between Sigmaringen and Innsbruck. I call it Sigmarten, I don't know why. Just stuck in my head. So I've got this route, let's say now. Now if I ever come to play a card and I can't play a card, I've got to discard all the cards in front of me and start over. And that's a big bummer right there. You're not going to win. Basically, you're not going to win if you ever do that in the game. So if you do that once in the game, chances are you're going to lose that game. So it's a little bit unforgiving. So let's say I had gotten to my turn here, the end of my turn, and I've got these 3 cards up. All right? I've got a route. Now you can have the option of scoring your route. You have to have a route of at least 3 cards long to score. So when you score your route, you have 2 options. This is when you get rid of your houses, okay? And I'll explain why it's important to get rid of your houses towards the end when I talk about scoring. Now let's say I had a configuration like this. You've got Stuttgart up here, which is also a light green. You've got Ulm, which we had before, and then Augsburg. So if I had this route, like so, then I have the choice. And you have the choice to either put one house in one of the different color cities, or you could put them all in the same color. So let me explain that in a way that makes sense. So basically I could put a house in Ulm and Stuttgart, because I would be putting a house in each of the green cities, or I could put a house in one of the green cities, let's say Ulm, and one of the other color cities, Augsburg. Now if it was later in the game and I had scored a larger route, let's say it was like so, So I've got 3 gray areas and 2 green cities. So I basically have the choice, and remember, I'm trying to get rid of houses. So I could either put them all in the green cities or all in the gray cities, and this would get rid of 3 versus 2, or 1 in each. And I could do any combination of 1 of each. I could do Stuttgart and Kempten, Ulm and Augsburg, etc. So you can get rid of houses in all of one color or 1 of each color. So if I had done something like this, where I had this other one here, I could have got rid of those 3, because this is a dark green. It's a different area than this light green. So 1 of each separate color or all of one color. Now when you create a route like that, the first time that you create a route, you're going to want to take this 3 here. Now this means that you've created a route of 3 or bigger. It doesn't have to be exactly 3, but it's got to be at least 3. You'll take that and you'll put that on top of your station card. So like I said, these don't really have a point. It's just for stacking these cards on top. So the first time I build a route of 3 or greater, I'll take the 3. Now even if I had built a route of 4, I would still have to take the 3, because you've got to take them in order. It doesn't matter if you overshot the mark, so to speak. You've still got to take them in order. So the next time I built a route, I take a 4. So if you look at the bottom of these here, you can see there's a certain number of points. And so at the end of the game, you're just going to add to your score just the top card. You're not going to get 5 points in this case, 2 plus 3. You're just going to get whatever the topmost card is, and that's 3 points. So the way that one of the ways that the game ends is when the first person builds their route that's 7 long, that's going to trigger the end of the game. Now, you still get to finish the round, so if the first player were to do it, everybody else would get another turn. But if the last player were to do it, then it's over, because the round, everybody had an equal number of turns. So whoever gets a 7-length route carriage is going to score 10 points. Now, if you remember, back over here at our special powers, we had the Cartwright. And he has a little deal that'll let you skip a carriage. So how does that work? Well, let me try to explain that very clearly. And I've been known to flub this as I've taught the game, so I will try to go slow. So this, if you know how to play, fast forward. So let's say I had theoretically scored a route of 3 long. And I had theoretically scored a route 4 long. And then I'm starting another turn. And I've built a route that's 3 cities long, and I'm just using these cards as an example. These aren't legal placements, right? So I've only got 3 cards in my route, 3 cities. Well, on this turn, I haven't used any special abilities. I haven't used the draw twice. I haven't used the place twice. I didn't use the administrator to clear the face-up cards. Now I could use the Cartwright. The Cartwright will let you skip. So I've got a 3-length route, so I could skip and get something that is 2 or less higher than me. So I've got 3 plus 2 is 5, so I could grab the 5 without having to actually have the 5 cards. Now I can't skip the order in which I grab these. I can't have, 4 out here and skip to a 6 without getting the 5 first. But it's a way of sort of, pushing the end game to go a little bit quicker. Because like I said, as soon as the first person that grabs the 7, that'll trigger that being the last round. So again, I've got 3 cards up here. I haven't used any special actions. And I decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to score that route. Well, since I've got the 3 and the 4, I can get a route that's 2 sizes bigger. So I go ahead and grab that carriage and I upgrade that. And now I can start working on my 6-length route without having to worry about the 5. So you basically kind of like skipping a little bit of your turns to try to push it towards the end of the game. Now after you score your route, I should mention that you're going to discard all the cards that were in your route, and then you're going to have to start again with a new route. So you're going to have maybe start somewhere else on the board and then restart. And if you have more than 3 cards in your hand, then you've got to discard down to 3 cards. So another thing that might happen when you score your route after you place your houses is you're going to check some of these bonus tiles here. Now there's bonus tiles scattered throughout the game, the board here. But let's say at the end of my turn I had a house in each of these 2 green areas. Now remember, Sigmartin's a little bit of a darker green, and then these 2 are lighter green. So these are separate areas. Well, you can see we've got these bonus tiles here that'll give you extra points. And this one basically is telling you that once you have a house in both the dark green and the light green area, you can take the topmost bonus tile. So you can see there's a 3, 2, and the 1. So the first person to do that is going to grab the 3-point bonus tile, and everybody else is going to get less and less points as the game moves along. So I might have scored a carriage, and then I'll take a bonus marker if it's applicable. And you can see there's a lot of different areas like this, where this one is, if you have everything in the light blue, which is these 2 spaces, and the dark blue of the house, you grab that one and it's 3. Whereas over here in the middle, if you filled up all the gray spaces, you get 5, and then 4, and then less and less. So all of the areas of the board are broken up like that to get you to score extra points. Now there's a few special tiles in addition to the other ones for the colored areas. So you can see here you've got this one here, and this is the first person to build a route of 5 cities long. And this has to be an actual physical route. You can't use like the carriage guy to skip and then get one of these. It's got to be actual 5 cities. So you can see the first person gets 2 and the next one gets 1. There's only 2 of these, so a 4-person game, there's not going to have a tile for everybody. And then 6 and 7. And then up here, you got this tile here. Now this is a good tile. You can see you get 6 points for the first one to get this. And this is having a house in each colored area. Well, see, that can be sort of tricky because you've got these sort of outlying areas here, like this guy here, this Innsbruck area here. He's the only dark blue, and he's out on the side of the board. And then up here, you've got this sort of dark gray one, this Loads here. And you can only connect to it from this one yellow city here, Pilsen. So to get that tile is a little bit tricky, but it's also worth the most amount of points in terms of, you know, these special tiles. And then the last little tile over here is this one that's worth 1 point, and it sort of acts as a tiebreaker. And then the first person to get the 7 route card, one of these, will also get this tile, and it's worth 1 point. And at the end of the game, if there's a tie, whoever has this wins, and then if there's a whole tiebreaker thing. So that's pretty much the game. You're just going to be drawing cards, trying to play cards, trying to make sure that you can build the route most efficiently to kind of score the most points. And it's pretty simple, and there isn't a whole lot of direct interaction other than probably wiping the whole set of cards here. But there's a lot of interaction in terms of pacing of the game. You know, because you're trying to get rid of your houses, because actually at the end of the game, I forgot to mention this, is you get -1 point for each house that you have left. So you don't want to end it too quickly without getting rid of all your houses, because if you've still got like 8 or 9 houses left, then that's huge, that's gigantic. And you want to score as many of these bonus tiles as you can, but you also want to keep pace in terms of these carriage cards. So it's kind of a fine art to learn how to play this game, and I'm not the greatest player at it, to be honest. They have it on Brett Spielwelt, which is an online gaming thing, and I played it several times on there and several times in person. I don't know, my win percentage is probably that's probably 30%, but that's probably half truth, half lie. It's probably more like 20, but it feels like 30 on a good day. So there's a good pacing to it.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed the overview. It's a pretty fun game. Like I said, I like it. The interaction in this game is something that I quite enjoy. It's somewhat elusive to explain, so forgive me for my idiocy to follow. But the interaction in this game is the pacing of the game, and it's the approach you take. So which bonus tiles are you going to try to go for? You're going to try to go for, filling in all the areas, or you're going to try to get the one where you get the one house in each area? Are you going to try to just build big long routes and get those bonus tiles? How are you going to pace the end of the game? How are you going to pace the advancement of those carriages? Are you going to try to skip a carriage? So the interaction comes from that part of it. And it comes across where the theme of it is you have, the Thurn family and the Taxis family. And there's actually a little insert that gives you a little bit of the history and talks about how some of the buildings on the board are, historical representations, of the buildings as they were. So it's sort of this sort of frantic, trying to be the first to market, so to speak, in each of these towns. And that really kind of comes across. And I think it adds a little bit more of enjoyment to it for me when I think of it that way. It's not like, I blocked you, and poo poo on you or whatever, but it's more like, okay, well, I did this more efficient and you did this more efficient. And everybody likes to use the word efficient when they talk about Euro games, but this is how it works in this game. So, yeah. Um, I would say as a strategy comment that if you get to the point where, you go to play a card and you don't have anything that'll extend the route and you've got to discard what you have, you're going to lose. If that happens one time in the game, you're going to lose. You have to do that efficiently. You cannot afford to ever make a mistake like that. But it's going to happen. That's my point. Is, you know, sometimes I like to play seat of my pants like an idiot just to try to, push things, but you get screwed even when you wipe all the cards and it's like, oh, there's still nothing for me. So you have to be fairly conservative in how you manage, what you're doing. So I also like that. But this is a game I think, it probably takes a couple plays to get into. Some people don't have time to play a game more than 3 times, I guess. And that's understandable. If you don't enjoy it, then don't play it. But this one I'd give a couple of plays. Thank you.